At Gannon Jers. We are back. It always feels a little weird when we do the pod like this because we just got done with a high quality 45 minutes with Mr. Wrist because it is once again an LPGA major. They really sneak up on you. I never know until Monday. You text me, is Wrist coming on? And I go, what for? And then I remember it's a LPGA major. So back-to-back major weeks.
Yeah, I mean, when you have 5 LPGA majors and they're all within the major season, they sneak up on you quick and you never know when they're coming. But yeah, it was a great chat with Riss, probably the best one we've had so far. So definitely, I mean, honestly, skip ahead right now because you don't want to hear about the US Open or Travelers. It's the LPGA major was probably the best chat we're going to have.
I agree with that. Skip ahead, skip the US Open, skip the Travy, get straight to the KPMG LPGA down in Frisco. But Jers, if I'm reading this correctly, if I'm understanding this from my sources accurately, JJ Spaun has won the US Open at Oakmont, the most difficult golf course that we've ever seen. Let's just start with your general thoughts on JJ Spaun winning the US Open.
I just have one right now. Remember when we were on the bus leaving Oakmont the final day, and you said, I need to think of the calmest golfer ever to handle Oakmont. And you said, like, obviously DJ, like, it makes sense that nothing phases him. Like, if we would have said JJ Spaun, not that we would have bet him, we would have been like, yeah, he's super chill, low key, calm. Now that really kind of makes sense of what you said on the bus. And obviously all those horrible breaks he had on Sunday went through the motions, went through the rain delay, laid back, fought back, won the damn thing. So that's another strokes gained calm, and it turned out to win.
How do you rank JJ winning in the pantheon of random major winners? And I'm not talking, we don't need to go back, to the 80s or the 70s. I'm saying in common or in modern times, most recently. Who was this more crazy than Harman winning? Was this more crazy than Windy C winning? Where does this rank?
I think it is the most craziest one I've seen, but also this is my first crazy one being there in the practice rounds. Like, you saw Harman at the Open and you thought it made sense. You saw Wyndham Clark at LACC and you were like, he's striping, this makes so much sense. We saw JJ, we thought top 20 easy. He's going to play really well. We said good things about him. We wrote up good things about him. Winning obviously is a different story, but I do think this is the craziest one, but like not so far fetched that I can't believe it.
I agree with that. And yeah, you're right. We saw JJ not a lot. So we saw him briefly hitting some shots, and then he looked good. And I think, yeah, you wrote up that he could easily be one of the shorter hitters that finishes in the top 20. And I think the way we talk about this when we talk to Riss, but I'm like pretty confident that I bet JJ at Memorial. Like, I see him as a player who's capable of playing difficult golf courses. And I also think the one thing we tweeted on Monday and we talked about on the pod was like the random hazards and how one swing can be a multiple stroke penalty is the same as Sawgrass. And obviously that's where JJ played well. So you start to piece those things together. And I agree with you that like it's not completely outlandish, this isn't Soups winning the US Open or something like that. But from how we thought the course was going to play and how US Opens historically have been in the most, I guess, the last 5 to 10 years where it's been all about power, he doesn't fit that mold. But by the time the weekend came around and the weather came in, especially the final round, because at the end of the day, I genuinely think it was probably the wildest final round of a major that I can remember. From like so many guys having a chance to win.
Appointment television, 7 straight hours on the couch, and I was standing up every few minutes. There was so much going on. The best major in a long time, in my opinion. I don't think that's a hot take at all. And like you said, like you tweeted or said in the Discord, maybe it was like 4 different courses from Thursday to Friday, and even like on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it was 4 different courses. If they were to play on those Tuesday conditions, plus 11 would have won. Because that was a joke.
I said in the Discord, I think on Tuesday, because Tuesday was the only day where it was baked out and windy.
And windy.
It was twice as windy on Tuesday, even as the most windy day of the tournament. Like Tuesday, the wind was fierce the whole day, like flat 20 plus gusts. And the course was firming up because that was like the second straight day without rain. I genuinely think the scoring average would have been 80. Genuine.
It would have been
Or 70
insane.
in these conditions. It would have been 80.
Multiple guys on that Tuesday walk off the course because they were like, "This is such a joke. We're not playing in this," because like they knew it was going to be like that in the tournament rounds, and it was that crazy.
And I say this, and it's true. Like at the end of the day, statistically, each day looks entirely different. Like the course changed its character so many times during the course of the tournament, and we'll talk more about just Oakmont holistically here in a minute. I want to start with JJ and give him his due because this is truly unbelievable stuff for JJ. But really, when you think about it from a statistical perspective, the final round, it throw all the stats out the door. The final round became the most purely who was going to catch lightning in a bottle type of situation. And JJ does it by throwing in, I think ultimately the putt that changed everything for him was not, the putt on 18. He could two putt that.
No.
That birdie putt he made on 12 was, no one was making putts from anywhere, because I've never seen more short putts. I've never seen more putts missed in a tournament ever. Like even on 2-footers, you had to because you were sweating Vic, and Vic couldn't make anything. But and so he's an extreme version. But even just watching, you could not feel comfortable if a guy was putting from even 18 inches.
No, and when I get into those watching tournament, sometimes little mini box on my phone while I'm driving, 3-foot putts, I'm like, okay, I had to pull over on 3-foot putts because I'm like, I just need to dial in and see if he makes his putts because I have no idea if this is going in. And you don't get that feeling anywhere. And also, I don't think putting stats this week are too important because these greens were so objectively insane. The tour players are never going to see anything like this until they get to Augusta next year. So yeah, it was, and we saw during the week, we didn't get on the greens, but the few greens complexes that we got really close to, we were like, what the, this is nuts. And I think that happened on 2 on Wednesday. We finally got close to 2 on Wednesday, and we were like, this green is a joke. It's like a shorter hole that's gettable, but if you miss it in then one specifically wrong spot, forget it. Auto five.
And we wrote that up on the site that for how crazy we said the course was going to be, and we said it was going to be crazy, I felt like we were underselling it because there was things that we just couldn't even get close enough to comment on. And some of the greens were just so absurd, and getting to see them play out. We knew 3, for example, was going to be insane. It was clear that 3 was going to be absurd. But in the second round, when guys were going off the back and then chipping it off the front, it was like every group went through. Guys were making double. Berger got near the lead and made an 8, just completely ejected. Oakmont, what is your? I saw some takes on Oakmont,
and me too.
And we came on to the pod last week many times, and we said this course is the hardest course we've ever seen. This course is insane. Give us the carnage. That's what we come for. But people are saying, Jers, the rough is too long. That's not right. It's morally wrong for the game of golf to have deep rough. It only counts as real golf if there's no rough on the course whatsoever. Beggars can't be choosers. We want carnage. We want difficult conditions. I don't know how we couldn't say that Oakmont was one of the greatest gifts we've been ever given from that perspective. What is your take on Oakmont writ large?
And I saw some things saying I would have set up Oakmont a lot differently. How would you have set it up? What would you have done differently? I would love to know, Mr. Golf Course Architect, what are you going to do differently to set up this course and make it play perfectly to your standards? Because every single week on tour, no matter where we go, there's going to be something that you don't like, that someone doesn't like. And there's no perfect spot. If you miss it at Oakmont, yeah, you're going to struggle getting to the green. If you miss it in Houston, yeah, you're going to be able to get to the green. What do you want? Choose one. It's just I don't understand why it has to be complained. We got a -1 winner. We see this once a year. It was beautiful.
We don't even see it once a year. We see it.
Once every 3 years
at most. Yeah. And so for me, it's I don't care what you have to do, because at the end of the day, what I don't think it's when people talk about, the deep rough or whatever, or the reasons why Oakmont can't be, a perfect golf course, is and we said this all of last week. And I think this ultimately played out in the end, it also made it really difficult to handicap and choose who you think is going to win, because patience and calm and just remaining calm was ultimately what mattered more than anything. But
it's exactly what Jack said too.
And yeah, and then the like players talked about it, Jack talked about it. But at the end of the day, I don't care how you set up the course. Whatever you need to do to piss off the players and cause them to be stressed and like feel anger in a way that they don't feel on a week to week basis. I don't care what you have to do. I don't care if you have to have sharks swimming around the course. Like, it doesn't matter, because the point isn't what like specific skills are necessary. The winner of this week's US Open was as deserving of a US Open winner as you could possibly have, not because of their skills or their stats or whatever, but because this course said stay the fuck calm the whole time. And this man shot a 40 on the front nine and hit the pin and got absolutely rejected in one of the worst breaks you're ever going to see, and didn't give up and won the tournament. And at the end of the day, I don't care what the golf course is. Give it to me. That's what the US Open is all about, and that's what we had, and I love it.
And imagine JJ Spaun hit the Wyndham Clark 72nd hole drive. He's making it 7 right there. Like, he's boned. Like, right. It was just so true. The good shots didn't even get rewarded, but good shots kept you alive. And that was just a testament to Oakmont, 72-hole grind. It was just it was beautiful. It was beautiful.
And I will say my only take is, if you're going to hate on the Oakmont rough or like the style of test that Oakmont is, you should have to always then say Chambers Bay deserves another shot. Chambers Bay jurors, I've talked about it a million times. I'm the most biased person in the world as a Chambers Bay defender and caddy. But firm green complexes, crazy greens, no rough, visuals. The one thing I would say about Oakmont, like, we were there, it wasn't the coolest golf course I think that we've ever been to. It's not one that
Pittsburgh. It was just very Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh was sick, though, to be fair. I will say, not to upset any listeners, but we've had boots in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania twice in a very short period of time, and I've never spent much time in the Commonwealth. Pittsburgh, way better than Philadelphia. I'm a Pittsburgh guy now, Jers, and I never thought I would be. I didn't think of Pittsburgh as a place that I would like. I'm in.
Yeah, and I said this to you on our drive as soon as I got you from the airport. Like, I went to Pittsburgh back when I was in high school, and I didn't expect anything of Pittsburgh. I went to go see PNC Park, and the city, just the stadium, just kind of blew me away. And you think Pittsburgh, you think like a gritty industrial town, but it's a nice place. I would always I've had two of two good times in Pittsburgh, so maybe go back there in the future.
Did you see that? Oh, he missed. James Hahn for a second there when was that? When did I see James Hahn? At some point he popped up on the screen doing something good. He did not play good, but we saw James Hahn in front.
Yeah, we saw James Hahn in front of our Airbnb getting his dry cleaning for the week. I think he had 4 outfits, but he only needed 2.
Yeah, that's what when we were talking about pits, I was thinking about the Airbnb, and that made me think of James Hahn. I needed to see how he performed.
Generational Airbnb.
Him at some point, because I had it on for in the background for most of the week. So I was seeing it. And shout out, the coverage is terrible on the weekend, but the early round coverage of the US Open is beyond belief, because you get to see everything.
Yeah, I don't. Why is that the case? And it's. I have no comment. I've gotten in trouble talking about the broadcast before, so it needs to be better.
What were we talking about? Oh, we were talking about how Oakmont is not the most beautiful course that we've ever seen. Like, I'm not counting down the days until we get to go back to Oakmont from a boots and like going to the course perspective. It's not up to, like, Pine was just sick, like in a different way. Troon, which is the hardest golf course of all time between Troon and Oakmont? And I know the scores, like I know the math, like I'm not saying on numbers, I'm saying what is truly the most difficult golf course that exists on, let's say, when they're both at like their 8 out of 10 difficulty conditions, because if the wind picks up at both of them, they both become unplayable.
It has to be Oakmont, just it has to be harder. But Troon on like a 40-mile-an-hour day off the coast, like, what are you doing there? Like, you have to get so lucky. Wait, what did we say? Who played really well at Troon and Oakmont? Oh, Tristan Lawrence, greatest golfer of all time.
That's what I was about to say. I think the most when Thirsty was up there early in the week, I was so disappointed Not because like at the end of the day, what was he 1,000 to 1? Like figuring out that Thrifty Law, he was just 100 to 1 at Sudal a couple weeks ago. But as you said, they don't give out top fives at the rink.
No. So
When he was playing well, I was like, this makes so much sense because we had talked about that Oakmont and Troon are the hardest golf courses that ever existed, and Tristy Law won the Open there. And I was like, if he wins back-to-back Opens because Trees played the 2 toughest golf courses of all time, it was just amazing that he popped twice at those 2 courses.
So if you are a Vinsark subscriber and you are planning on having a kid and you have a lot of money to blow, like you're a very well put together, wealthy person, move to Pittsburgh, swindle an Oakmont membership, get your kid to play. Don't even give him any lessons. Get him clubs and say, here, figure out this golf course, play it for 5 years. While this kid is also growing up and you're wealthy, obviously, so you could take trips, spend your summers on the coast of Scotland and swindle a true membership because you got money. You could do it. Your kid will pay back all your investments within 10 years 100 times over because he will never leave a golf tournament ever again. He doesn't need one lesson. He needs clubs, balls, tees, some Malbin, and those 2 course accesses.
Yep. We've talked about that when we're doing boots before. When we're there, we always chat about this, that maybe the best investment opportunity in the world right now is to have a kid, boy or girl, doesn't matter. Get a membership at Oakmont, summer at Troon. They're guaranteed to be the number 1 golfer in the world. You don't have to give them lessons. Give them clubs, a ball. Maybe let them have ChatGPT on their phone so they can ask some questions, learn some tips and tricks, and just learn how to shoot par at Oakmont and Troon, and you will be the greatest golfer that's ever lived.
And they will get to, once they're on tour, they'll get to like TPC River Highlands, and they will be like, what is this? Like, what am I doing here?
They'll honestly, they'll be disgusted by it. They'll be this wasn't who I wanted to talk about right now, but I'm going to because I wouldn't say it's a real take. We're going to save Bob Mack for just a second because we might do an hour on Bob Mack. That was truly special moment. This is only a tongue-in-cheek take. Somebody could clip what I'm about to say and say this person is an idiot, and that's fine if they want to say that. Are we sure that Scottie is a good golfer? Because I'm becoming concerned by these performances, Jers. You were right. Last week you said that you thought this course was going to ask too many questions of robot golfer Scottie Scheffler, that it was going to not necessarily be pine all over again, but that it was not going to be a great week for Scottie. And at the end of the day, because he is the greatest golfer of all time, when he finishes T7, we have to question his performance because he's too good at golf. He never truly was in the mix. There was no moment where he was truly mixing. When is he going to do something special on a really hard golf course that is not the PGA Tour course?
You're more of a Scottie questioner than I am. I think he's fine. I think he missed infinite putts, and we saw what he was practicing all week because clearly there was something wrong with that.
He lost strokes off the tee. Scottie Scheffler, the greatest positional bomber that's ever positional bombed, compared to Tiger Woods. I just am surprised, honestly. I think more than anything because he looked great out there in practice, but when it's not robot golf, something just always goes a little bit wrong.
But what he did do well was the area that I was the most needed with, the 125 to 100 yard up and downs. He got those up and down at extremely high right, which is why he's going to win Travelers by 17 maybe this week. Yep. But yeah, that left miss was in play. It's been in play all year. He never once got the driver dialed, which is no matter who you are, that's not going to work around Oak. But also the driver wasn't dialed, but if he had a better putting week, he probably would have won. He missed he 3-putt so many times.
Yeah.
Not as much as Vic.
Yeah, but if Scottie gains 2.4 putting, he needs to that's in his wheelhouse. He wins when he wins. That's plenty of strokes putting for Scottie.
That's what he gained.
He wasn't he had a truly awful week putting. It was the driver that ultimately let him down, and I just don't understand what happened with the driver. This should have been this was a way better course than Pine was. And obviously Scottie played better than he did at Pine. But for him basically to not win the US Open right now in the form that he is in because the driver let him down, that's just surprising to me. Not gonna like again. It's a tongue-in-cheek take that it's concerning. It's Scottie. We're joking, but in all seriousness, I'm just surprised that the driver cost Scottie the U.S. Open.
Yeah, and I mean, the driver's he's not driving as well as he drove it last year. That's a fact. So I could see it coming up at a course like this and really getting him. But like I think he can win a U.S. Open then next year. I think he can win next year. I think he could win I think he can win the Open this year. I know we disagree there, but time will tell. But these setups that don't have the ball land exactly where you hit it, whether that's off the tee, whether that's into the greens, they fluster him, which I was saying last week, but I don't think that can kill him because he's better. He's also the best around the green player on tour. So, yeah, we'll see. I think he's got good things coming though in the majors.
I just need, hold on. Let me look at something here real quick. Like, it'll happen. I agree with you. I'm not going to come on here and say that Scottie doesn't win the U.S. Open at any point or that he doesn't win it at some point relatively soon. All I'm saying, it was a surprising performance from Scottie for me. I know maybe not as much for you, but and at the end of the day, the reason I'm now extra surprised is because if you had told me he had gained that much putting, that he had gained that much around the green, that he had gained that much on approach, I'd be like, he's got it. There's no way he doesn't win this, especially on a week where it seemed like no one obviously was playing good and Scottie's baseline could have carried him to the top. But now, and what's most frustrating, the serious take here is that I would rather Scottie wins all the majors every single time. Like, give Scottie the Grand Slam for life and let us have a chance.
Let other guys some PGA events.
Let other guys win the PGA events. That's my biggest issue with it. Like, if you're going to win Craig's Ranch, but you can't win the U.S. Open, Scottie, what's the point of that? Right. Why are we doing that?
Yeah. Well, luckily for him, he has the PGA. If he didn't have that PGA, like, that would be a different question. So he's got one more chance this year. It's not like he's 1 for 3.
Hollow PGA Tour course, though. I need to see it on. If he wins at Portrush, silence of the questions for sure. But we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. I agree with you though that we're screwed this week on the Scottie front. But Bob Mack, would you have been upset if he won because you weren't on him, or would you what was your stance there?
No. We talked about what makes us upset, and hand up, we did not see good things from Bob Mack early in the week, and he talked about in his interviews how he wasn't hitting good shots earlier in the week and how he had to talk to his mental coach that not everything's going to be perfect. I need to just think par. I need to just think about par and how I can make par. And that is what he did. And it came little by little, just like T12, I think round 1, just around that area, T25 all week, just par. Finishes are at +1, I think. And with a putt to finish par. And honestly, if he makes that putt, I see different things coming because it would have been a different mindset from JJ. But yeah, it was a great week from Bob Mack. I didn't even realize, like, I was sweating Vic hard, and I'm like, oh, Bob Mack's really a threat now. Like, I once he got through 15, 16, I was like, all right, but here he is. Like, there's another guy at +1 tie for the lead, and then it all went down. So yeah, I would have never been upset if Bob Mack would have won. That would have been great for us.
I would not have been upset in the sense, like, I texted you on Thursday.
You would have been.
No, but let me in a relative sense, because I texted you on Thursday evening, and this was an honest text. I said, if Brooks wins, I'm shutting down the site. And I'm serious about that. If Brooks would have won in that situation, I would have been too devastated to continue on. Luckily he didn't. And luckily that faded relatively quickly. That would have been upset. I would have been very mad about that because 100%. Triple-digit Brooks, after we saw him looking pretty good in practice at a course that we said was just quintessential Brooks golf when he's good, that would have been too much for me to handle. But Bob Mack flowchart, Bob Mack National Open flowchart, Bob Mack par, Bob Mack, I bet him at the Canadian Open, Bob Mack,
we bet him all year long.
Oh, yeah, we've bet him a million times. He hits it to the middle of the green more than anyone's ever hit it to the middle of the green. I would have been angry at myself for not just doing what I know is right, which is Bob Mack at National Opens. But I would have been so happy, and I was so happy in the moment as Bob Mack was charging up there, that it would have been more joy than disappointment in a way that, like Brooks, even though I love Brooks, I would have been more mad because I've been betting him on live every single week. This would have been happiness, and the way he would have done it under par both rounds on the weekend, -1 and -2. He gained, if he would have won with a final round, gaining 5 strokes on the field, gaining across the board, like it was generational stuff from Bob Mack. Unbelievable stuff. And I was just so happy for him. And then for him to have the moment, the clap, people recognize what a just kind soul he is. It was a wonderful day for the Bob Mack supporters worldwide.
Yeah, it really was. And stay tuned. We got some excellent Bob Mack stuff coming within the next month, and you guys are all going to love it. It's really, really, really good stuff. So yeah, I mean, it's always love with Bob Mack. It really is.
Yeah, get excited for the Bob Mack
We
content.
don't tweet in all caps much, and we tweeted, "We all love you, Bob
And
Mack."
people supported it because it was earned. Yeah. But yeah, wonderful moment. Par, National Opens. I already tweeted at the beginning of the year that Bob Mack was going to win the Open. Now his odds obviously are going to go down a lot. Famously, the most generational wealth opportunity of all time was 600 to 1 on Bob Mack at Valhalla. Completely different conditions, but still played well. What odds would you put it that Bob Mack wins a major in his career currently?
-110.
Okay. I think that's like an honestly fair odds. Obviously, I would put it at guarantee because there's 2 Opens per year, and he probably wins them both every time. So that like is going to add up to a lot of majors at the end of his career. But yeah, I think -110 is very. It's still. I think the books would give you better odds than that, but that's fair. That's a fair.
Well, we got the book coming, so we can set the odds however we want to set them.
True.
Then we can just have so many weird markets, like stuff like that. We can do whatever we want. We need to talk to Russ, a lawyer, and see how we can actually do this.
Easy.
We have so many ideas, Adam.
Yeah, we do. Okay. I always wonder if there has to be on a weekly basis. Obviously, there's new people who listen to the pod, and sometimes some people have to be like, what are these guys talking about? Which is totally fair and totally earned and deserved. And then that's the Vince ethos. And also, as always, shout out to the listeners, shout out to the subscribers, shout out to if you put a like and subscribe on YouTube, shout out if you subscribe to the site, $9.99 for the weekly, $34.99 for the monthly, vincerix.com. Rumor is surprise boots this week at Travy. People are whispering it, but we don't know. We'll see what happens there. But shout out to everybody who supports in any way, because being able to do the boots content last week, boots coming up at Port Rush is so awesome. We can't do it without the loyal supporters. So shout out to everybody. But sometimes I'm sure new listeners have to be like, wow, what am I getting myself into here?
Yeah, we'll get a comment every now and then, like, what are these guys talking about? But I wouldn't want it any way differently. So shout out to you guys for listening. Shout out to you guys for buying some shirts. And yeah, you guys are the best.
We truly love you. We really do. And I know a lot of people were tailing you on Viktor Hovland, a man that we saw striping at Boots. He looked good. And he did stripe for a while, except for with the driver. The driver turned against him, Jers, over the weekend hard. Obviously, actually not obviously. I mean, he lost more with the putter than he did off of the tee, but was the driver, which made you more upset, his driving or his putting?
The putting, because there was, I think I was a little bit more in this world than you were. I thought there was like no way like you were just gonna miss fairways. But obviously, like whether you're missing them by a yard, but the bounce or missing them right, like you're missing them. So I wasn't too upset with him missing the fairways because he did other things well. But like no matter what you're doing, you can't 3-putt 7 times. Like you just can't do that. And then obviously on top of that, a ton of other missed putts inside of 5 feet. He ended up not putting perfectly, like lost less than a full stroke to the field putting, but you can't 3-putt 7 times. Like I don't know what else to say that. Made it up with the iron play, gaining over 8 strokes on approach, just hard stripes like Nico Echeverria style. But I'm not upset with Vic's effort. You tell me he has a chance to get into a playoff on the 72nd hole at 60 to 1. You take that 10 times out of 10. You do. So he hung tight. He didn't have his stuff on Sunday at all. He was not looking comfortable, but he hung tight. Like he had a chance to make it happen on the last hole of the tournament. So no beef with Vic. Always fights hard, and it's good. Things are coming along for him.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with where his game has been versus his performance. He outperformed for sure. I will say, because obviously I was rooting hard for Vic of being kind of the only guy the Vince team had in the mix going into the final round. And we've talked about before at Boots, we talked about it this week, that I used to not be a Shea guy. Strokes gained Shea, strokes gained Caddy. And I've become a big fan of his because he's one of the best boys of the pod when we're there at Boots, always says what's up. Final round Vic in majors has left a couple of times that he's been there. I haven't loved some of the decision making, some of the shots, some of the club selection. That was the only thing I would say. What was like? I'm not saying it was a hard take. It was fine enough. I know he wasn't the favorite necessarily going into the final round because he was back at Burns. Like from a name perspective, from a guy who we expect to be major champion, I thought he would play a little bit better in the final round. That's what my only take.
100%. Like it was weird because I think it was like he had like 50% dog because he didn't have his game at all, but he like hung tight and like did what he had to do. But yeah, he definitely just did not play well enough of the U.S. Open champion on Sunday. Like I'm not mad at his efforts because he fought with what he had, and like he was 60-1. It's not like he was a 10-1 golfer who I expect the world out of in the best form of all time. 60-1 and looked the part, and just he fought. Like I have no beef. I don't have beef with Shea really either. There might have been a few questionable calls. Like I hate when you hit a 3-wood off the tee and you fan it. Like just full send on 2, just full send. Just cover that bunker. Like we talk about Sam Burns. Obviously, we're gonna get there. That was some of the worst strokes gained caddying I've seen maybe ever across the entire week. So I think there's an issue there rather than Shea.
Let's do Burns. You are declaring some of the worst strokes gained caddy you've ever seen.
Yeah, and it was funny. Like on the broadcast, they were like, "Yeah, a driver right here is going to bring the bunker into play. Everyone else is going to, because Sam doesn't have the pop to get it over this, and everyone who doesn't have the pop is hitting 3-wood directly into the bunker."
Oh, on
like
2?
Couldn't have been. Yeah, he did that I think twice. Not on 2 twice, but like that scenario twice where he hit driver in a position where it brought X hazard into play where he shouldn't have, and it was like obvious. Like the broadcast was like, "Yeah, I don't know if this is the right play here," and like not that they're always right, but it was just like so funny that it happened. It was just some poor decisions from the Burns co on the week.
I think,
and I think that also back to Canada. He wanted to go for it so many of those times on 18, and Caddy was like, "No, we're laying up. Give me a wedge." And then the one time they really argued, he spun it off the green, and obviously ended up not winning the tournament. So I think there's some strokes gained caddy issues in the Burns camp.
It was interesting. Well, first of all, I was going to do this if Burns had won. Remember, I think it was after Memorial Pod when I said Sam was going to play good at Oakmont and that you were supposed to remind me. And then we did nothing about that. I didn't even consider betting him this week. We saw him at Boots. He wasn't looking great, to be honest.
He was looking disheveled. Just looking
especially on Monday. He looked so pissed about
rightfully so.
What happened up in Canada. Rightfully so, but he clearly was using that as motivation to have a great week. So I would have been conflicted if he had ultimately won because I'm a Burns guy. I always have been. I a few weeks ago said that I was going to be interested in him here. We bet him at Troon, the other most difficult golf course of all time, and he got near the final group there. He was playing vintage Sam Burns golf for the first few rounds. He was just doing, if you would, the iron play was holding up the way that it had played in Canada, the distance, driver, putter. Like he obviously Spaun ends up not looking anything like what we would expect the winner of this tournament to look like. Sam Burns looks like what you would expect a U.S. Open winner to look like. Long off the tee, great putter. And a lot of times in U.S. Opens in recent years, that's been enough to at least get into the mix. I really genuinely think that I don't know if he would have had the dog ultimately to win it if the conditions had stayed perfect. He was the most disheveled in the wet fairway conditions. I know he on 15 specifically, like we can talk about that didn't get the drop. Just in general, as soon as it got sopping wet, his irons went to shit completely.
Yeah. Yeah. And like his like best iron shots were off of the tee on par threes. So yeah, I totally agree with you there. But one thing I will say, when Sam Burns does get the iron play going, he stripes them. It's fun to watch. And he hasn't done that like all year long. So it was good to see him finally finding some things the last few weeks. But and it's just like what you said, one bad break around Oak and you're ruined. Like Sam Burns, he gets that he maybe a wrong club off the tee on 11. Like you got to take that downslope out of play. Like Adam Scott hit driver, got up on that top ledge. You hit 3-wood, you come back down all the way, and you have an extremely difficult approach shot. Who knows where it ends up? Could be in a hazard. Obviously, doesn't cover in that little weird little crest on the bunker. Makes a 6. Strokes gained caddy. You got to take that out of play. Just rip it up there. You're so aggressive. You're Sam Burns. You're so aggressive all week long, every other hole, and then you make that mistake there.
Which actually, no, I'm not going to compare them, but I'll say that they was similar. Adam Scott's wedge on 11. Rory's wedge on 13 at Augusta was the worst wedge ever hit. We talked about that after the Masters. Adam Scott's wedge on 11 was one of the worst shots I've ever seen. When you consider the circumstances, Burns had just missed short into the hillside, and it looked like it was going to be major boned on 11, and it ended up being major bone. He made double. Adam Scott minted a drive down the middle on the craziest fairway on the course. Like 11 in person, we were like, what is even going on here? It's an insane fairway. And his stayed there because he hit it so nice. Yeah. And he nuked it over the green into the fescue. That was the most confounding shot of the whole week, in my opinion. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, whenever I play golf with my buddy Alex and we hit a shot thin, I always say, at least you got one groove. As soon as Adam Scott hit that shot, I belted out. At least he got one groove, because that was so thin, sculled it over the green, 25 yards long of where he wanted to go. And he spoke about it after the round, how like he said it like mid round. I was kind of a little bit right. I was right after right after the delay. He's like, it was borderline unplayable. And he spoke about that wedge, how the club was just like, the water was in the ground. Like it was like on top of the surface, that the club was just skidding very unnatural. And he said that's what happened. But I mean, there's no excuse for that, but that was why he did it. And it was just like hilarious to see that in the circumstances. I mean, not for him or not for Adam Scott backers, i.e. me, preseason one and done. Pat myself on the back there.
That's a great call.
And it was just like, how do you do that in that time? How do you do that?
What's your stance on Burns not getting the drop out of the casual water on 15? Two different rules officials say no drop. He makes double bogey. He still could have absolutely won the tournament in that moment if he doesn't make double bogey. What's your take there?
I want another comment from the USGA, because shout out Kyle Porter. That was insane. He was hitting out of a puddle. You saw the video, I assume, right?
Yeah, I mean, as it was happening, as soon as, because they hadn't showed him for a while, because that was the moment that Bob Mack was surging, that some other guys were starting to play. Well, Hatton, generational iron shot into 16. That was a shot worthy of winning the U.S. Open. And then he misses the putt, and then he ejects hard on 17.
So Hatton.
It was vintage Hatton. But when they said like, oh, Burns is getting another ruling. As soon as I heard he was getting a second ruling, I didn't even know what they were talking about, but I knew his tournament was over, because what did we say? Strokes gain patience, strokes gain mentality. I knew that they were going to reject him again, because it's the USGA and they don't give a fuck, and they'll reject you 8 times in a row. It doesn't matter to them. As soon as I heard he was getting a second opinion, I was like, he's going to get rejected. And you can't overcome the mental, because it's still going to be an impossible shot. Like it was a really, really hard shot on 15, no matter what you add in there, you're hitting out of a puddle. But if he had somehow been able to keep his composure and just knock it up near the green and try to get it up and down for par, he still could have won the US Open. So I think ultimately, yes, it was a terrible break, and shout out to Sam afterwards for being a good guy. Like he didn't shit on the USGA or go off on them. He still could have kept some more dog in that moment. Nobody forced him to then hit a snap hook full send to the green. He could have played more conservatively if he wanted to.
Yeah, no, I have nothing really to say there. I think that's a very fair take, and I agree with you.
I think the best boots call of the week was Carlos Ortiz. Jers. What a week for Carlos. Unbelievable stuff. He almost won. There was a legitimate moment where it looked like Carlos. Would you have been angry if Carlos won after having him 7th in the boots report power rankings and not being on him at like infinity odds?
No, I wouldn't have been upset. I would have been happy for us. I mean, still happy for us. I think that was a great call. A lot of people did make some money on Los.
Low Mexican market was where Los paid off. Like there was no
minus 120.
Yeah, that was the generational wealth opportunity of boots often isn't the outright. It's some of these other random bets. Low Mexican Carlos was a generational wealth opportunity that I think we missed.
Yeah, truly. But yeah, shout out Low, shout out Liv.
Speaking of Carlos, speaking of Torquay, this is the perfect time to talk about Jocko, because if you would have told me there was going to be a generational striper from Torquay in the mix down the stretch, I could have seen a world where it was Sebastian Munoz.
I was at Sepp got in late.
But second most likely probably would have been Jocko.
Sepp put on a display.
Yeah, he did. Well, that was the thing. We saw this group. The reason we saw Carlos and thought he was playing so well is because we saw him playing with Jocko, Seb Munoz, and Johnny Vegas, and all of them were striping to a different degree. It also shows that, like, and I knew what I was getting myself into with Jocko. I would have been disappointed, honestly, not to be on Vic, because, as you know, we were talking the whole time about whether we were going to bet Vic or not, and that he was somebody who stood out as hitting it well, and I went to Jocko instead, just because at the end of the day, I mean, you saw it as well. He hits the ball. All of the live results aren't just made up, like that's real golf that's really happening, and he's really winning. He hits it better than everybody on the course, and then he shows up and he misses the cut by infinity strokes and never even as close. Meanwhile, Carlos, who also was hitting it great in that group, which is why he stood out as hitting it so well, he almost wins. Now Mito's almost won a major. Carlos has almost won a major. And Jocko, it's a dark day in the Jocko.
And Los doesn't even come close to Wacko on live. Wacko beats Carlos every single time on live.
It's a dark day in the Jocko defender camp, I have to admit. I'm sorry.
I mean, our question of Wacko v. Ludd preseason is looking bleak, real bleak. I think Wacko is winning that right now in the majors, but it's not pretty.
No, I mean, but I think honestly, I bet if you ask the average person who they think is a more talented golfer, I think Jocko's increased his in that weight against Ludd.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that I would agree with that. Well, he might be the most talented golfer in the world.
What he does is so. He might
be a YouTube golfer, dude.
He might be a YouTube golfer. Speaking of YouTube golfers, Bryson missed the cut. Jers. Bryson, 7-1 odds, missed cut. U.S. Open Merchant, Live Merchant, playing great in the majors Merchant. We said that it was a mixed bag from Bryson in practice, and ultimately, this isn't the perfect Bryson course, because the rough does come into play in a way that and it's different than Winged Foot in the sense that the greens are still unbelievably insane going up to them, and you can't run it up. But I didn't expect Bryson to win after what we saw from him in practice, but I expected him to play better than he did. What was your Bryson take?
Agree with you there. I definitely did not expect him to miss the cut. I expect he needed to hit more fairways too, because when he was missing those fairways, I said this to you, doesn't matter if you're Bryson, doesn't matter if you're Rory, if you're missing fairways, you're not getting to the green. You're just not doing that. And from there, you're just boned. So I think Bryson was, we were high on him in terms of one of the guys that we liked at the top of the board, but not high. We weren't a lock that he's going to win. So I think we were indifferent, probably a 50-50 call on Bryson. I don't think it was the best call or the worst call.
Where do you stand on, so we went on Wednesday, we talked about on the Tuesday pod, people who don't subscribe to the site wouldn't necessarily know this, but we talked about on the Tuesday pod, we said we need to see Rory. And obviously Rory was the most bet golfer to miss the cut. Rory had no chance, according to the world. Rory sucked at golf. And he flirted with missing the cut. But we went there on Wednesday, and he looked great. He was striping the golf ball. Everything looked solid. And we said, you know what? It's 16, 18 to 1. It's worth a roll of the dice, because this version of Rory doesn't look any different than other versions of Rory that we've seen. No one else here is striping. I think that's something we talked about. And ultimately, for me, made it really tough to bet, because nobody looked good. And ultimately, you end up with a leaderboard of pretty random golfers, because it ended up just being dog and patience. But
Mhm.
Rory ends up gaining. If I had told you that Rory was going to gain 7 strokes off the tee and 2 strokes putting, would you have thought that he at least mixed?
Yeah, 1000%.
Because that's what
1000%.
he drove it so good, and
Yeah.
he the rest of the game, the irons were just so unserious. He only got it up and down 38% of the time. Like his short, like he just played like a guy who doesn't care. And I think ultimately that was the risk of like going to Rory. And that's where I'll most say, not that I would have picked JJ Spaun. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Like I would have been upset if like Vic had won or Bob Mack had won, somebody who I could have
Yeah.
bet if I didn't bet Rory. But I was watching him in the featured groups. I was just watching him and I was like, this dude isn't trying his very best. And it's disappointing when you bet money on somebody who's not trying their very best. But with that said, he still finished T19. He still, Bryson misses the cut of the guys at the top. It wasn't like he played terrible. How do you feel about betting Rory?
Yeah, and I wish I would have just stuck to my Tuesday pod take. Like, he won the Grand Slam. He's taking time off golf. I'm like, he doesn't care. And then he comes out and says, I'm struggling to stay motivated, which, like, that's all true. Like, he does not look like he cared at all. But, and all the other thing is that we should have considered more is he didn't play past 10:30 a.m. any day. And then once he got into those afternoon conditions, like, it was a blatant difference. So, but like the driving display that we saw panned out too. It was just the unseriousness that really bit him in the butt. And yeah, so it was that
It's
was
one
it.
of those where he had the worst scrambling besides Rom of anyone in the top 20. The irons just weren't there. But yeah, the driver was fixed. And at the end of the day, the hope was that the driver would be fixed and that would spur the rest of his game to have him bounding down the fairways like I'm nuking off the tee again. Life is good. And there were bits and pieces of that. And there were times where he
And
did
then when
generate.
his back was against the wall and he needed to do it, he was like, "All right, yeah, I'm Rory McIlroy. I'm gonna put it to 4 feet on the 18th hole." Like, okay.
And it was classic Rory. Like he only lost the
And
tournament
he
by.
had to have the round of the day on Sunday.
Yeah. And he like didn't ever bogey or birdie the par fives. He never birdied the drivable hole. Like it was vintage Rory stuff. But I think a T19 was probably as good of a finish as he could have hoped the way that he's been playing lately, honestly, after losing with this alleged like lack of motivation. I think T19, fair enough, Rory. Fair enough. He said he's going to focus up for Ports though. So we got to keep our eyes on that. BG, another wiki yellow, unbelievable stuff from BG, generational player. If like now, if I already was rooting for Europe if he wasn't on the Ryder Cup. I said that before Memorial. If he's not on the Ryder Cup now, I will never root for America in the Ryder Cup ever again. I'll become
Would
a
you
lifelong.
change your allegiance as like an American citizen?
We're getting there. We're getting there. Like one more good week from BG. He wins this week or something. He might have enough points where it doesn't matter, but it's getting close to the point where if he wasn't on the team, I would have to denounce my citizenship.
I mean, you talk about all green. You talk about Xander. You go look at BG's profile, and it puts all green Xander to bed.
He's special, dude. BG is good, and he's so confident, so beyond confident.
How funny when he did the shot that we saw in the tournament.
Oh, it was unbelievable. Go check that out on Twitter. That was unbelievable stuff. Okay, let's get to Travy. We've got a ton of time after this with Russ, so we won't spend too much time on Travy. At the end of the day, the U.S. Open recap and the LPGA KPMG is what the people are here for in a week like this. But Travy's here. We're Travy guys. I've probably watched more in-tournament golf at Travy than any tournament of the year. Like we usually do boots for the majors. I'm not really going to in-tournament rounds very much, but obviously we've done it at Travy the last couple of years. What do you need to do to play good at Travy? What are the keys?
Yeah, not gonna reinvent the wheel at TPC River Highlands. You're gonna drive it in the fairway. You're gonna be a good middle iron. You're gonna be a good wedger. You're gonna roll some putts. It's a perfect event following this U.S. Open because it's a fun event. It's always a good finish. And I mean, I don't think anyone hates. I think it's like the least hated birdie fest. I think everyone's just like cool with Travy.
Yeah, the players love it. What I will say is it's the hottest place on earth. The weekend at Travy, last year on Saturday was genuinely the hottest, like most sweaty I've ever been. Like when I like
Remember
stood
what
up,
I
and
wore?
I dumped water on myself. What happened? That was easily the most sweaty I've ever
I wore a windbreaker, and I was.
been.
Do you remember that?
That
It
was
was
probably
legitimately like I like just out of the washing machine with sweat.
that's an insane thing to wear on a day like that.
It was
That
so
is
sick though. I just got it. It was a Malvin one. Wore it in Scotland too. Might do it again.
It's got much better in Scotland conditions. I will say, Vic's outfit with the quarter zip gave me
That
the most
was
confidence.
Saturday or Friday. That was
I think it was
fire.
Saturday. That gave me the
The the
most
the, the,
confidence.
bl- the blade collar with like the little zipper.
Good stuff from Vic.
Yeah.
And Vic's a guy who usually dresses crazy. So that was nice to see from Vic that he had the right attire on at least to be a major champion. JJ looked good too. JJ always looks steady out there. And at the end of the day,
Except for when 2 years ago at Kapalua when he wore like the longest untucked
that
shirt for
was
4
sick. The
straight
bowling
days.
shirt.
Yeah, and Kohler thought that was the funniest thing ever, and forever thinks JJ's unserious because of that week. But
Well, that's the thing
it
about
was
JJ too, is that like
so chill.
he's popped up there a lot over the like in recent years. He's not consistent by any stretch of the imagination, but there's been so many times on like a 36 hole lead or in the mix on a Saturday where JJ's in a final group or like the talent clearly has always been there, and now it finally pays off for him. So again,
Yeah.
shout out JJ. I know we've got so many things to talk about. We can't spend as much time giving a shout out as JJ deserves, but just one more time. Shout out JJ Spaun, U.S. Open champion. That will every time for the rest of time that the U.S. Open happens. When we go next year and they're doing the banners, the speaker, and Dan Hicks is like JJ Spaun, 65-footer. It's gonna be hype.
It's gonna be so sick.
At Shinnecock. But yeah, I mean, hit the ball in the fairway. I put up on the site. This actually surprised me. Last year at Travy, the top 4 on the leaderboard, which was Scottie beating Tom Kim in a playoff. I had Tom Kim. I watched with my own eyes Tom Kim play honestly perfect golf. And I was like, did he play perfect golf? Am I remembering this properly or am I biased? No, he did, Jersey. Tom Kim missed 7 fairways and 6 greens for the whole week. He gained Scottie also striped it generationally, but Tom Kim outstriped him. Scottie was 3rd in accuracy and 2nd in GIRs. Tom Kim was 1st in accuracy and 1st in GIRs. It was unbelievable stuff from Tom. But last year, the top 4 on the board was 2nd GIR, 1st GIR, 3rd GIR, and 4th GIR for Scottie, Tom, and Sung Jae. So even though it's a birdie fest, even though we think of like birdie fest as putting contest, Travy last year was simply dominated by the guys who were just hitting greens over and over and over and over again. Because at the end of the day, you do that at Travy, it's genuinely hard to shoot worse than like 4 or 5 under.
Yeah, no. And then when I remember we said last year, I don't know how Scottie shoots anything less than like 5 or 6 under like per day, and like that just happened because like he's what he is. So yeah, I mean Travy is what it is. I think it's a great event, and I agree with those stats.
Scottie without, Scottie dual, are those being considered?
I'm gonna take him on. I am. I mean I think of a week where Zach Blair almost wins, a week where a lot of the field just got their asses kicked in at Oakmont, a week where also Scottie, what does he have, 16 wins now? He's successfully defended twice. It's like he's automatic. I'll take him on. Everyone in the field is live. Like Brian Campbell, generational wealth, top 20 this week, like 800 to 1. He can hit fairways and get hot with the middle irons.
Yeah, I think this is most like RBC. I think it's the very similar situation to Hilton Head, where Scottie was also defending champion. Obviously, he can defend this week, certainly. But I think it sets up more like that than some of these other tournaments of late with Scottie. One other thing I was going to say about Rory, where I don't feel quite as bad about betting him, is that since JJ Spaun won, that actually means Rory won, because obviously Rory beat JJ at the Players. So even though Rory didn't play his part this time, you connect the dots. TPC saw Spaun. I can't feel as bad about Rory, but Rory's in the field. Apparently, he's also, I guess he's a step below Collin, Xander. So I just have to ask: is there a world where you would think Rory's all of a sudden going to care about the Travelers Championship and you'd give him another chance?
How could you?
Shot like 50 in that one round and then hit it over the fence on 12.
Yeah, when he was winning by 3 on that Friday and the tournament was over, when we were on our way there, and we were like, damn, we going to be at a Rory runaway. and I think Xander won that year. And then he duck hooked it on 12 and over the train tracks, and he was done from there. So no, I don't think we are. But obviously, Rory can stripe off the tee anywhere and get hot with the wedges.
Yeah, I mean, if Rory did care, and he woke up and he was like, "Portrush is coming. I'm a new man. We care about golf again." 14-1 on Rory would be a fair deal, in my opinion, with how often Rory wins on the PGA Tour. He's been a short course merchant this year too. I'm just saying. I'm not saying I'm going to do it. It's now not a major, so I can't go below 20-1. I should have just never gone below 20-1.
Dude, Rory's win at Players was still the most ludicrous win of the year. It's a fact.
I agree with that. The next guys who don't quite get to 20, Collin. Go look at Collin's stats if you haven't looked at him from the U.S. Open. Collin hit the ball beyond belief. I'll give credit where credit's due. Collin hit the ball at a level even that makes him, that goes beyond what we'd expect at his best. He gained 12 strokes on approach. Collin was generationally striping out there, but he lost almost all of it back on the greens. What is the state of the union on Collin Morikawa right now? Because we've talked about him week after week after week. We've given very negative takes about him. Shocking ball striking performance. I'll give him that, but he still finished T23 and was never even close to winning.
Yeah. Well, I kind of lumped this in with one other golfer too. And I did say earlier that I don't want to compare these green surfaces to any, like to Oakmont green surfaces to any other tour spot, but similar grass type here. I don't think the vibes could be good in any way getting to a course with similar grass where you have to take it super, super low. And that's him and Shane. Shane also lost like 6 strokes putting in 2 rounds. So I don't want to chase the putters is what I'm saying. And not chasing putters has been a mature thing that I've kind of been doing, and it's been working. It's never like worked against me where a guy just putts really bad like the week before and just explodes and wins. I used to bet like that all the time, but I just don't want to chase that putter from Collin. But he's not a bad putter.
Scottie's playing this week, and Collin can't win when Scottie plays. Until he does, he has. Xander, I will say Xander outperformed at least what we saw in the practice rounds. A lot of fiddling, a lot of trying to figure it out. I watched him on Saturday because he was playing with Rory, and I was trying to convince myself that Rory could have a good weekend and climb back up into the mix. He looked good. He was striping. Xander was hitting it nice. He's obviously won here before. I feel like Xander's really starting to round into form of late. 18-1. Could Xander win another Travy?
I mean, you get Xander at a pretty basic PGA Tour stop. Visually, should be very comfortable. I hope. I mean, shout out you guys listening. Hopefully, I see some good things off the tee from him tomorrow at Boots. And I mean, I was high on Xander going into last week. Didn't get there, obviously, but panned out. Played well. And this is the first all green we've seen in a while, Adam. So I think it's coming to fruition.
It's getting pretty green on the Xander page. I will say, I'll give you that. I think I'm still good outside of the major. Like,
I would say I would feel comfortable betting, like more comfortable betting Xander than Collin, Pat, JT, any of these guys in this range. Like, I think Xander wants to win and like actually can win.
I don't ever consider betting Collin anymore. It's been a long time where I genuinely don't even consider it.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you on Xander. Okay, next tier. A guy who I will say I wouldn't say concerned, but like when we come on and we say that Ludd is just doing the dumbest strokes gain caddy things, and we take a stance that like it makes no sense with the stuff he's doing, there's always a part of your brain that worries that Ludd's going to play generational golf that week and shoot 25 under par and win by 50 shots, and you can clip it and say that we're idiots. It's bad right now with Ludd in the strokes gain caddy camp and just Ludd in general. I say that though because I think this is his best chance to play good in a while.
I think I'm with you. I think I agree with you there. Extremely basic course setup. Scav has been here a ton of times. What are you going to tell? What could he possibly do? Like Scavron say wrong here. I don't know. Like
he could do it.
He could like hit driver short of the tree or hit up an iron short of the tree on hole 10 or whatever, something stupid like that.
Like behind the tree.
Yeah.
But 30
But
to
no,
1
I
on
30
what used to be the greatest player of all time.
striped it here
He's
last
at
year.
least hitting it good again. He's at least
Yeah, he is.
like if you were a Lud
Shame
person
Forbes
last
not in
week,
this field.
if you were a Lud person last week and you thought that Lud and Scovern could win the US Open as a duo, and you're getting a better price this week than last week. That was my other issue with Lud last week. It was just like, why are his odds so low after like one
Yeah, and I
good?
thought they would drift too, and they just didn't drift. So it's probably because the Pine US Open where he played pretty well for half of the time.
Yeah. But
But
30 Lud, I'd consider it. I'd consider it
yeah,
because I do think like at least it worked for me on JT, and I'd consider JT too. What also? Do you have any comment on JT?
my GT senses are just not good. They're just not.
No,
I'm like
it's probably
one.
the least you
I'm
know.
two for like a lot on JT, and they're not good.
But I do think guys who were
This is a great course for JT though. I'll say that.
Yeah, no, I'm saying like the Lud and JT type of guys that like right now this year just aren't playing major championship golf. Like they're making too many
Yeah.
mistakes. They're driving it off the P too often. I think there's certain guys this year who fit that mold. You come to a course like Travy, anybody could drive it good at Travy. Like
Uh-huh.
you could 7-iron off the tee if you really had to. The guy who I think like he was 40, he's already come down to 35. He is basically Jocko of the PGA Tour, Sepp Straka, who's 0 for 3 in the majors and even making the cut this year. But every other
Mhm.
week, he's hitting every fairway. He's striping his irons to a level beyond human imagination. He's putting like prime Cam Smith. The only thing he can't do is chip, but then you need to chip in the important events, and he is terrible. Why couldn't Sepp just win again? He's played well here before. This is perfect Sepp course.
Perfect, of course. And he's gonna be popular this week for sure. It makes a ton of sense. I nothing bad to say about Sepp. I'm a Sepp guy. I just think I have some similar equity at longer numbers, even though he's won twice this year.
So who do you like
That
in the
might
middle
not
of
make
the board
sense.
then? Because like we said, this is a long pod. We're not going to go down to all these guys.
Yeah,
Obviously,
yeah,
everything will be up on the site, as it always is. But middle of the
yeah.
board, and in the 40 to 80 range, I think that's a range at Travy where you can have some success. That's where TK was last year, even though he came up short. That's where Keegan was the year before. Anyone can play good at Travy. If you can make birdies, if you can hit the fairways, good things can happen. Who in the 40 to 80 range can make it happen with that playing style?
Yeah, I like Russ and Berger and in this range. Like Russ played great last week, and we saw good things from Russ last week. And he doesn't have the course history here, but similar event, similar events this year. Russ was going off around 25, so it's probably just the course history. But he's been a better putter the last year and a half. And then Berger is hitting it so well. He's got the runner up here in his career. He played well last year. He had a hole or two that really derailed him, which is very Oak. So I like that. I like this range, and I like you can build names this week. You can get a ton of names because Zach Blair almost won here. Like guys can mix at Traveler Championship. Everyone should go to this event thinking they could win. Like it's not Oakmont where they know they have no chance. They're not walking off the practice green because they can't win. Everyone can win here.
Yeah, I feel like I've bet Russ here so many times. It makes so much sense, but at least in the 40s, and he's starting to play better. I agree with
Right,
you.
like he was 30 last year at minimum, and like he was 25 at some events this year in like
Berger was
bigger field
80.
events.
I wrote up Berger this morning at 80, and now he's 55. Missed
Really?
opportunity.
Wow, I didn't see that.
Yeah. I would say like no reason that Siwoo can't keep playing good. 60 to 1
He
on
died.
Siwoo.
Yeah, I like. He was on one of my thumbnails for the week.
60 to 1 on Siwoo. That would entice me. You always have to consider at least Denny for first round leader when you're here. I will say there's no reason why Akshay can't play good again. Why? Like,
Yeah, I was on him here last year.
yeah, you were. That was a good call. This is where we first saw the putting up close, and we're like, this guy rolls it. Nice.
Rolls it lag put champion. Yeah, and like the take that we had about Akshay like middle of the year was the long irons have been poor. Get him on a course where it's short irons, mid irons, wedges. Colonial played well, hit his irons well. Same spot here, and he's generally pretty accurate off the tee. Um, but I don't love him as much. I think he's getting a little bit too into the social media game for my
Uh,
liking.
I
That's
can,
what the people come for.
I agree with that take. Okay. Triple digits. We almost had a random year of the week of a lifetime last week with Mr. Bob Mack. It wouldn't have been random because of the flow chart, but it still would have been a truly special moment. Triple digits. Obviously, Ryan Fox just won Random Year of the Week a few weeks ago. Who are you targeting as a random Euro at Travy?
Okay. I was just gonna go triple digits, so I'll give you that first. One triple D guy.
It's
Sam
been
Stevens.
Sammy Stevens. He almost won last week.
Dude,
For a second.
driving accuracy champion. And what did Will tell us? Sam likes courses that tell you where to hit it off the tee and just drive it straight. That's what you got to do here. I like Sam Stevens a lot at 100 to 1. So he's not my random Euro, but
you can get Sam Stevens at 150 to 1 right now. So
yeah, I was looking at DraftKings. I think
not a pick for me necessarily this week. I mean, he's a pick for me every week because he's legitimately the best golfer on the PGA Tour. Ryan Gerard, another made cut. He fell apart over the weekend, but Gerard was up there for a while. You want green outside of the putter? Go look at Ryan Gerard. He is a special player.
I have a random Euro though. Sorry, got a early wake up tomorrow. Getting a little tired. Random Euro of the week. One of the few Canadian Europeans, Nick Taylor. Ton of dog. Look at his recent form. Like 3 great starts in a row. And why can't Nick? He doesn't have good course history, but why can't he play well here?
No, he can't play well here.
You can win at Wiley. You can play well here.
This isn't my random Euro of the week, but I just had to give him a shout out while we're down here. Bez T12.
He was T12?
Bez was T12 at the United States Open. You play. We're Bez. When it comes to boots, I've been a Bez guy this year. I like what I've been seeing.
Waste management?
He's too steady. You can't watch Bez.
You know how to boots Bez.
He's going to play bad. And he's been playing good. He's been playing good. So I'm happy for Bez. I bet him here 1 year. Devo was pissed. He actually played pretty good.
He didn't answer because I bet him.
My random Euro of the week. And I hate to say this about our guy who had the pod, but my random Euro of the week is going to be BSB Novak because unfortunately I don't think he's going to be making the American Ryder Cup team with the performances of late. He's lost his spot and he needs it. So purely on Europe, purely on Ryder Cup vibes, Andrew Novak is my random Euro of the week. And we need...
Because he might be rooting for Europe because he didn't get selected. That's why.
We need...
He shot 59 here. We talked about it.
This is a perfect course for him. It wasn't like I expected him. He made the cut at the US Open. He's been playing fine. We need to get the Ryder Cup talk. But BG stole all of his thunder. And that's okay. And that's fine. And that it is what it is. But right now, this week, BSB, Andrew Novak, this is the most important start of his career. I'll take that.
Play Canada. Right, he should have played Canada.
Why did he not play Canada?
He would have won so easily.
Because his last 2 starts were signature events, or the US Open, and then
he better not turn into Max. That's what Max started to do. Only play the SIGs and just lose all your mojo and swagger and thunder. You got to play the event. Rory plays bullshit events because he knows he needs the win. Scottie does too. Don't be that guy.
That's fair.
I'll talk to him tomorrow.
Yeah, he played Schwab. Let's give Novak credit where credit's due. He played Schwab, but yeah, this is the moment of a lifetime for Andrew Novak. He's my random Euro of the week. I've done real random Euros of the week the whole year. You sometimes go off and pick random people. That's the first time I'm doing it this year, and it's because it's such an important moment for BSB Novak. He's gaining on approach. He's hitting the fairway. He can make birdies. He almost won Hilton Head. And what did we just say? This is similar to Hilton Head, except he wasn't in the Masters when he did that. But he shot 59 here. What more could you ask for?
Yeah. Honestly, I think 1 of every 5 random Euros of the week, I pick a European. I really spread the globe in this category.
No DP this week, Jers. It'll be back next week. No live this week, Jers. It'll be back next week. But we do have the LPGA, and we've got Mr. Wrists. And he's coming on right now. Jers, great pod. Boots tomorrow. That's a surprise Easter egg for people deep in the pod. Talk to you later. We're back. The great Mr. Extended Wrist is with us, and that can only mean one thing. LPGA major. It can also mean another thing, which is Bob Mack runner-up at the U.S. Open. And by this point of the pod, we'll have talked plenty about that, and maybe at the end we'll get your thoughts, Mr. Wrist, on what took place there at Oakmont. But we're here with an important mission, and that's to find a winner. It's what do we got? The KPMG? Where does this rank in the hierarchy of LPGA majors? Is it third out of the 5?
Third. Hard third.
Hard third.
Behind both Opens, but ahead of the Chevron or behind the Chevron?
Way ahead of the Chevron. Way ahead of the Chevron.
It's
a real major.
We're supposed to be a little upset at KPMG though, right? Because they're in charge of the data on the LPGA and they let us down. Is that still true, or have they been improving as the season's gone on?
Well, they've been giving us more data, but it seems noisier, and I don't think it's right. Often you'll see who is like leading strokes gained for the week, and it'll be someone who like missed the cut, but somehow they gained like 8 on approach. So
how is that even allowed? Like, how do the girls even stand up for that? Because they have logins to see their information.
I think that what happens is it's deferred, like the responsibility is deferred to the caddy, and the caddy has a little sheet that they're supposed to fill in. And so I think that if you get a bit of a lazy caddy or a caddy who just like, I think that Minjee Lee's caddy just fudges the numbers, makes her look like a queen of approach, and then she looks terrible putting, but I don't need to put my tinfoil hat on just yet.
That was how the DP used to do caddy generated strokes gained.
You should probably go back.
Jordan Smith would always gain like 72 strokes ball striking. His caddy would just have everything maxed out, but they've at least got the shot length now.
That's why he's still 15-1 every single week, no matter what.
That probably is. And I saw, I don't know who it was, people on social media were upset with how much coverage Jordan Smith was getting in like the first or second round. I can't remember what it was, but I went on Twitter and there was beef about how much coverage Jordan Smith was getting. And I was like, generational striper, you just need to accept.
He just flushes.
But third major of the year, Mr. Wrist, what was the analysis of how the Chevron 5 approach played out for the longtime listeners who came on last time?
Honestly, I think 3 out of the 5 were in the top 10 or in the top 9.
Well,
honestly, pretty good.
You were worried though for a while because the Coachella Act was the one who was trying to go back to back, who didn't make it in the Chevron 5 because she had won. She was looking promising there for a while at the US.
Yeah, I think she finished like 4th or 5th or something like that, but she was in the top 10. So in a year where I've not hit very many outright winners, I'm looking for whatever moral victories I can get. So
yeah, well, you take what you can get.
Done well, you got 2 in like for 14 weeks. We'll take that.
And you've been slinging some high X cards lately. There's been a couple that were in the 15.
Yeah, but that only works when you win. It doesn't matter if you sling 100 X cards if you don't win for 4 years.
Yeah, I think you'd need to win like once every 3 years with an 100.
And you might lose interest
with an 100X approach.
Yeah.
People were saying in the Discord, I think of the groups in the Discord, I like the LPGA group. It's a great group that you've got there that chats through what's going on a weekly basis. People were saying that because historically the last 2 pods that we've done for the Chevron and for the Women's US Open, I usually end up around over 100-1, and I start just tossing out names of people that I recognize, and then to me it's like, if I can recognize their name, they must be a pretty good golfer. Why are they above 100-1? That actually would have worked at the US Open. I know you were upset about the Maya Stark. Do you have a statement? You've had some time to reflect of Maya Stark winning Viking Cup. We came on here last time. We talked about the fact that the Scandinavian mix had been canceled, and therefore her and Lynn Grant were going to be more focused. Missed opportunity, but we were close. And I just want to head this off before we get started because our process was good and we need to stay committed to it this time. But do you have a statement about the results of the US Open?
To each and every Vincerics listener, subscriber, I'm sorry, I was wrong. I'll try to be better.
What were you wrong about? I don't remember you being.
She was one of 15 players who can win, and she was 150-1. I mean, what was I thinking?
That's fair. That's how I would have
felt. A ton in the past. We better at the previous major. We better at Chevron. It's inexcusable.
I
It's
bet JJ
indefensible. There's
Spaun a
nothing you can say.
memorial.
Well, you should apologize too.
By this point in the pod, I probably already will have apologized. But by the time we get this, if somehow I've forgotten to mention this earlier in the pod, I did bet JJ Spaun memorial. So I know the pain that you're feeling, but it's a fresh start. It's a new major. Tell us.
Well,
What are we going to say?
Well, on that point, this is what I feel a little bit bad about because the last, two majors, I was saying that, they're not really that interesting from a handicapping perspective because it's strokes gained off the tee and then, it's kind of putting or greens in regulation, but really it's just starting on second base by being a bomber. And I think that here we're going to PGA Frisco or Fields Ranch East.
Is this the same one that they're going to have the men's tournament at in a couple of years?
2027 and 2034.
Yeah, this is the new PGA of America home course.
That's right.
And I've already seen some comments from you. You're calling this Erin Hills Southwest. So I know when you came on here last time, we rolled over the Chevron 5. We were leaning into there being some overlap between Erin Hills and the course before the Chevron. It sounds to me like we're just continuing on with relatively similar styles of courses for all these majors so far.
Well, and that's what I feel bad about because I think that kind of is the case of what we're looking at. I think that this will be, I'm not, the best meteorologist, but we're just north of Dallas. I don't know how wet their late spring, early summer has been, but hopefully it can get kind of spicy. I remember Southern Hills, like Tulsa, it's not in Texas, but that US Open there was pretty spicy. So, maybe it'll get kind of frisky. It'd be fun to watch then.
And if that were the case, we think the bombing angle would maybe go down a little bit because we're getting more run in the fairways.
Well, maybe, but the fairways are so wide, they're like 60 yards wide. The bigger thing is that what I was looking at the course map, and it seems that the biggest defense isn't water or rough or anything like that, but it's cross bunkers. And if you can carry it about 265 yards, then you can really, move it down there. And that's sort of what we saw Nelly do at Erin Hills.
I was about to say, just let's single beer. Let's do it.
11-1. It's a good number.
KPMG feels like that's what Nelly will get. Because what's her major resume right now?
She's got Chevron and she won here in 2021.
Okay, because she gives me the vibe of Scottie's a Masters merchant right now. He's got the PGA obviously. Nelly could be a KPMG merchant. I feel that just American, just bomb it. Nelly 11-1.
Especially a Texas course where there's an emphasis on it's going to be really windy this week. It's going to be, emphasis on getting it down there. And then she hit it really good at Erin Hills, but she was hitting from easier spots. It wasn't just that she was hitting it from 50 yards closer. She was hitting from flatter lies. So she's going to be able to do that again this week.
Most important question of the week, because the boots parlay last week, which was Vic and then Celine boots, was the parlay. And it was in the ballpark there for a while. So on the narrative front, which LPGA golfer is most like JJ Spaun?
Oh.
Because that's where we need to be looking this week.
That is putting me on the spot. Okay, so what is the profile for JJ Spaun? Kind of doesn't have a card, been around for 8 years.
Yeah, we need some experience. We need fairways, and we need calm demeanor and green across the board, but not crazy good in any one stat. Solid iron player.
Did we not maybe get our long shot U.S. Open winner in Maya Stark?
That's
and
a fair
maybe
point.
Now we go with Nelly with Scottie kind of thing to compare the.
That's one angle. The other is, didn't we, when we had Windy C win as a long shot U.S. Open champion, the next major was Harmon, who was a long shot. Could we be entering a summer of long shot major winners?
I like that. That's right up my alley. If we want to go for a long shot, inexplicably, Maya Stark is I don't know if you have the odds. I think I checked this morning. She's over 100, which is crazy. Why?
What?
It's a great course for her again.
Yeah,
like, that's so rude. That is so rude.
I've got Bet365, and for those who listen to the U.S. Open Women's Pod, I actually do have all the names in front of me.
I was going to ask, you have the third row up? Like, are we good?
Well, they're single file this time. So the last time I only had two of the three rows. I didn't know that Lydia was in the tournament, but I have everybody now. Maya Stark is 110 to 1. So triple digits fresh off. Oh, and here we go. One of my first shout outs over 100 to 1. We're talking Bombers. We're talking potential course that maybe Jake Knapp would play good at. Patty T, 100 to 1. That's my first bet of the week.
Okay, well, this is the other angle. I don't really know how to address this. You guys can tell. I mean, I'm down so bad, guys. I haven't hit a bet in the majors. I feel like I'm not close. I can't see the board. So I need some like reinforcement, some reassurance. Give me something. Tell me if I'm right. Tell me if I'm wrong. But I do think that it's Texas in June. It's going to be windy and it's going to be hot and it's a big walk. I think that like fitness is going to be an issue. And so a tie player, I kind of like a tie player. They play in hot, humid conditions. Patty T fits the bill.
We talked about that last week too, a fit player, and JJ Spaun had lost 25 pounds coming into the year. So strokes gained, we're
all right.
We're right there.
Strokes gained fitness is key this week, apparently, at the LPGA KPMG. But there's a tie player at the top of the board, as there usually is. She's still, I believe we've talked about this before. Do you bet somebody who's never won a major at 8 to 1? We've said that we don't do that. Last time I checked, she still doesn't have the major in her back pocket. Any interest whatsoever on the Gino train single B?
This might be something that people want to follow up on in the future because I've talked to Matt about it for sure, but she opened at 14 this morning. So yeah, I don't really like how these are some fraudulent numbers we're getting. I'll just say this to the listeners. If you want to bet Gino, wait until 5 minutes before or 1 minute after the tee times start, the tournament starts, go to the live odds, bet her then, and I'll bet you anything she'll be 14 to 1 then.
You're saying before,
like a minute after the tournament starts,
they're going to reset her odds. Is that something that's been happening this season?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. So that'd be like.
So there's some other names in there too that I'm telling you that's not where Celine Boudier. Why was she 35 to 1 last week, and then she finishes a non-competitive 4th, and now she's 18 to 1? It's the same thing. I guarantee you check like Thursday morning, she's going to be 33 live.
All right. Well,
you need to get some rights and set some odds for LPGA because you'd clean up in that regard. Wrist. I really think
we could launch our strokes gain markets in an LPGA market.
Well, there you go.
Okay. So we talked about Gino. We're good on the single bullet, and if you do want a single bullet, her wrist has something he's been monitoring. The odds are going to bounce back up once she tees off. To me, this sounds like a Bryson at the PGA situation, where he was around 12 to 14 to 1 the day before, or on Sunday before the odds reset, shot down to 7 to 8 to 1. Ultimately, obviously, did not win there. We just talked about Nelly. We're considering, or at least Jers is considering
Nelly Scottie Lay. I've done it once. We had a sweat. I think I'm in again.
I could be down for a Nelly Scottie Lay. Ronnie Yin. I've already seen you made some comments in the Discord, Mr. Restaurant, Ronnie Yin. We all remember what happened. I
don't remember what happened. That didn't happen. That's a memory you guys have. It's not something I've retained. I've moved past it.
You have to be careful when you say something like that because I actually don't necessarily remember which player is which. So when I'm starting to say what happened, it's important that you go, yes, that is the player that you're thinking of. So I believe.
Okay, I'll stop lying.
Okay, we'll assume that this is the Ronnie Yin who hit the most generational 5-wood in golf history at the Chevron, and then jacked and lost the tournament. Was part of the Chevron 5 next week. But you're saying this is the moment, this is the time we go back.
Well, it's the moment I go back. I don't know if everyone else should. She really does hit all the notes. She's playing the best in the majors. She's playing great golf. She has a 2nd and a 4th. She was 4th at the U.S. Women's Open, and she was not that far away from, catching Maya Stark. Her short game is really, really good, and if this turns into a scramble fest, I think that she's 3rd or 4th on scrambling for the year, around a 66% clip, something like that. And this is going to, because the greens are those Gilhance perch greens where there's the runoff,
We've got another Gil's involved here too.
I know.
Big week for Gil.
Gil's almost been too many places. Like he
I was gonna say,
truly everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm going back to Ronnie. She's getting the wind. I think she was second at the Women's Open last year. She won the Women's PGA in 2023 at Baltusrol. She hit all 36 greens on the weekend.
That's playing golf.
And she's been putting a little bit better, which is good. She gained putting the last 2 starts, so that is good.
Are we sure?
16-1.
Are we sure that she gained her caddy wrote in that she gained to boost her confidence? Because that's potential.
That is very fair, but she did gain 2 putting at the U.S. Women's Open, which is not done by the caddy; it's done by shot length. So I'm going to give her credit there.
That's fair. And
how many Chevron 5 shirts do you think we would sell?
If it hits?
No, just the Chevron 5. And we every week we just list the girls' names on the back and then right here the Chevron 5 in Sarah's. I think that would be good.
We could see if Chevron would sponsor it, toss their logo on there, potential moneymaker.
I mean, at the very least, you might get a cease and desist out of it. It'd be funny.
Yeah, and then at least draw some attention. All attention is good attention. The other thing I was going to say about Ronnie, again, I'm still learning the players. I tune in now from time to time during the week. Anytime I see Ronnie up there, I like the level of focus that she looks like she treats the game with. Was she up there amongst the strokes gained, just like calm demeanor, focus? Because every time I'm watching her, she always looks locked in on the task, which I like.
She's super, super focused. She has a great demeanor. She's kind of like a kind killer, I would say.
Yeah, that's the vibes I get. Silent, energy.
Yeah. And if she gets to play with Gino, like they're best friends, the vibes in that group will be out of control. It's kind of like Hideki and Adam Scott kind of thing. When those two play together, you're going to get a mixer.
It's like Rory and Shane last week too. Went really well.
The worst thing I've ever seen. We'll probably have talked about it by the time we get to this part of the pod. I'll have my statement on what took place there. But actually, Russ, you're a Rory guy. What was your take on Rory's performance?
I just said that I'm not in the best place mentally. Like, I don't want to be branded as a Rory guy. I'm not wearing a Rory t-shirt. Everyone can see that.
You sent me some excited text during the Masters. That's all I'm saying. You, maybe of all of the texts I was getting during the Masters, you might have been the most happy.
I'm gonna go read these texts because I don't know if that's true. I think that anyway. I might have been drunk too. Like, I don't know. Give me a break, guys. I'm not having the best day.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm hammering down halls.
We'll get back. We'll get back to the task at hand. The next tier. Let's call this the range of despair. I'm gonna give you some names.
It's a juicy range of despair.
It is. It is.
Like my eyes were, open wide.
Minji, Celine Boots, who you said has been slammed down. Heiron Ryu, who is he? I'm not even gonna try this one. Choi. How do we say that?
HJ Choi.
H goes by HJ. Okay.
Yeah. Elite striker.
Everyone knows it.
She almost won last week. But I think she's kind of a loser.
Okay. Lydia, who I know you're a Lydia guy. Faru, and then the chipping yips. Chipping yips. By the way, what's the status on the chipping yips? I know you came on here after the and also you have to pronounce this name for everybody still. You came in here and said that Joe Mayo had fixed her chipping. Is that true or not?
Well, I'll ask you guys this question, and you can tell me. So she's working with Joe Mayo at the U.S. Women's Open, which you'll recall was 3 weeks ago, right?
Very.
A week and a half later, I see her being posted by Peter McLaughlin. That's the short game chef, and she's working with him. Right? Parker McLaughlin. Parker McLaughlin, yeah. So she's working with a new short game coach. Definitely looks like she's focused on one area of her game.
That's a concern for me, if that's the question.
Yeah,
I'm glad that she left Joe Mayo because I talked about on when we talked about her last time that I'm not a Joe Mayo guy. So that I would consider good, but yeah, the back and forth. And do we think we're going to need to chip this week?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Off Bermuda. I was looking at it. So
White lies.
they've had this tournament here, or they've had a tournament here once before. It was 2023. They had the senior PGA. Stricker won. And I was looking at it. It doesn't look like it's overseed. It looks like it's real Bermuda. So like proper chipping form is going to be needed.
Straight.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're in the range of despair. The Coachella Akshay is 25-1, and that rounds out the range of despair. Any interest in any of those range of despair contenders?
It's hard to argue with Sago. Like I probably won't go there just because I think we kind of saw it at Chevron. I mean, she did kind of backdoor her way into the playoff, and then really backdoored her way in the playoff. And then at the U.S. Women's Open, she was, hitting it amazing with approach. But just as the tournament went on, you could see that her lack of distance, being 30, 40 yards behind Nelly, it just kind of took its toll. I think that this course is going to be the same, but I think that she'll be in the mix. I mean, she's playing, really, really good golf. Top 10s in both the majors. Minjee, I'm interested in. Australians in Texas, they kind of have that vibe. You know what I mean? There's something there. I think that is she 18?
Minjee is, she's 18. And to your point, obviously her brother won in Texas earlier.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that there's something there. I'm still, I don't know. Minjee kind of has that Brooke issue for me where, her price seems a little bit, even though it seems like a good price for Minjee, that if she was in proper form, she'd be down at 12 or 14, kind of where Ronnie or Nelly are. I think I need to see all 4 rounds, but if it happens, I don't fault anyone for betting it. It makes a ton of sense in the wind, but I don't think I'll go there. Celine Boudier, again, at 35. I feel like maybe the reason that this is a bet or why it happened is because she's from Dallas, but she hits the ball way too short to play well here. She'll be good in the wind and she can get up and down, but she hits it too short.
I famously bet her at Sahali, which makes her a positional merchant. And that sounds like Sahali couldn't be more different than this course. You could line up 27 fairways wide of Sahali fairways, it sounds like, in just one fairway down here in Texas. But what about Lydia? Where I always ask about Lydia because I know she's got the dog. What's the situation there?
What's her number?
22 on Bet365.
Need some firm fairways for her, right?
Yeah, we need firm fairways, and then she's not the straightest driver, so those cross bunkers concern me. But if it was a little bit shorter or a little bit narrower, I mean, it's a perfect setup for her because of the around the green play and the kind of linksy feel. But I think the fact that I'm considering Nelly and I've already bet, Ronnie, I think I'm kind of out on the range of despair now.
Never bad to be out on the range of despair.
You can go Nelly, Ronnie, card done, correct?
Yep.
That's a good card.
No. Yeah.
I mean, whatever you want to do. Yeah.
That would not be a 100x card, but it would be a good card nonetheless.
But yeah, you've been slinging 100x all year. You can dip down a little bit.
Yeah, got to find a win at some point. But a name that I am interested in, I don't know what her number is. Steph Kiriakou. She's an Aussie. She's been playing really well. Is she like 90?
90.
I'd be interested in her. She is a wind merchant and tons of dog.
Lexi's been in the triple digits the last 2 times.
Played well last week, right?
55-1. Is she becoming? She's going.
Yeah, she was tied for the lead going into the final round.
Fresh out.
And guess how that went?
Well in retirement. Considering she's not playing this year, she's doing pretty good.
Yeah, no, I mean, she's doing exactly what Lexi does.
But she's also almost won.
She's going to be on the Solheim Cup team, man. I don't know what to say about Lexi, but yeah, she plays more golf than all of us combined, I think.
How big of a lead would Lexi have to have where you would put your life on the line that she was going to finish the job?
Oh, 2 or 35, but nowhere in between. It would need to be that she has a little bit of pressure on her or total, but if she had a 9-shot lead, I would be looking to hedge out of there as fast as I could.
That's the type of takes that we come to the pod for. You would risk your life on a 2-shot lead and a 35-shot lead, but nothing in between. But that's how it is. That might be how it plays out. Anyone else in the mid range before I get to my start shouting out names over 100 to 1? A couple names just for reference that catch my eye here, just because they're recognizable: Jun Young Ko, Charlie Hole, Alim Kim will almost certainly be first round leader. Megan
Won a
King.
major in Texas.
Really?
And a bomber.
Really? Would definitely.
Ina Yoon, I think that she's been like strokes gained, tee to green, top 3, 2 of the last 3 tournaments, something like that.
Here's the
she
question.
Like 40?
Who?
Ina Yoon.
Yoon. Angel Yin. That's not who we're looking for. Ina Yoon. There she is. 40 to 1. Yep.
And Angel Yin, honestly, I mean, she makes a ton of sense here. She's a bomber, good short game, really, really good putter.
People have been asking.
9th at the U.S. Open.
And by people, I mean me asking you.
Mm-hmm. You're a person.
Is Nana Courts Madsen the best player on the LPGA? Because every single time I open the LPGA leaderboard, the Dane is up there in the top 10. Is the results, the wins might not be there yet. Maybe they are there and I've missed them, but I can't help but notice the name Nana Courts Madsen on the leaderboard every week.
I'm trying to think of a way that I can subjectively say that the answer is yes. She does have the 54-hole lead sometimes. She has the 36-hole lead sometimes. She doesn't win very much, as you said. She's a really good all-around player. I mean, she's a good fit for this course. If I had room on the card, I'd probably bet her. Is she 60 or 70?
She's 60, and honestly, there's no beef, but fresh off of my Maya Stark call at the US Open, which I didn't act upon, I may need to make my own long shot card this week. Post it on the site.
Yeah, do it.
I got a question about someone too, that a girl that we've been on and it's kind of been trending in the right direction. I don't really know her game or how to pronounce her name. Aki Iwe?
Aki Iwai? One of the
Iwai.
twins?
She's been playing some decent golf. I see T7, T15, and we were on her, I think, at the ShopRite or the U.S. Women's Open.
Yeah, so she makes a ton of sense, and she's a long hitter. She has a sweet swing. She kind of swings it like Rory circa 2011. It's sweet. She plays this blue Yonex driver. It's vibey.
What's her number, Adam?
35, I think.
Akai?
IW, yeah.
Yeah, I remember from a few weeks ago when we bet her. 35, yep.
2 runner-ups on the year.
Rose Zhang. I forgot about her.
90 to 1?
Who is a worse best player of all time overhyped? Lude or Rose Zhang? Who's been more disappointing in their career, Ludwig or Rose?
I mean, they've been professionals for about the same amount of time. Are they the same age? They both 25?
I think Lud.
I think Rose is a little younger.
Okay. They have the same amount of wins.
This is what I'm talking about. This is what takesmen are here for. Who has been more disappointing as the most overhyped golfer of their generation, Lud or Rose Zhang?
I feel like I've had venom in my voice and been really mean already today, so I don't want to go after either of them too hard because I feel like the results speak for themselves, and I don't need to add anything to their own results.
I will say Rose. She was talked about as going to.
It's not good, man.
She was going to change the LPGA forever. And to be fair, I don't know what her results have been. Maybe she's been playing great and the odds are just crazy, but I doubt it because somebody as popular as her, I would assume that books would be hedging against. 90 to 1 on Rose Zhang. I forgot she even existed until I was scrolling down the board. That's insane.
I saw that this morning and I thought it was a mistake, but I didn't realize what she's been up to.
The one number I was going to mention, Adam, I was thinking about, I feel like, Matt, you mentioned this somewhat recently where you said that Ewan Ferguson, when his number seems too short, you play him because it kind of makes sense. Was that you, Adam?
My take, Jers bet him. I didn't bet him, but my take is that anytime his odds get cut in half for no reason, he almost wins every time.
Esther Henselite, she's 55, and that feels a little stinky, and it makes sense to me because she's a long hitter. She was third at the Olympics. She's German.
German.
She was third at the Olympics. She played well at another long course at Quizon Gardens, and she played well at Chevron last year or 2 years ago. I feel like maybe the books know something, and she's going to mix.
I like it. I like it a lot. Anyone else before we get to the triple digits that you've got your eyes on that we need to talk about?
Madeline Hagstrom, 140, was 54-hole leader. She won us the match play.
I'd be down. Strokes gained Sweden is working out pretty nicely this year.
I have a comment on that later, but I'll let you ask your questions now.
No, let's hear the comment on strokes.
Okay, so it's actually not Sweden, but it's still Viking. Skov Olsen was a winning caddy this week on the Ladies European Tour.
What?
For his girlfriend, I think Amelia Garvey, I think she's Welsh. She was rocking Malbon, and he was there holding the trophy with her.
We need a picture
as a caddy. I
saw the Malbon thing. I didn't know she was there.
I'll send you a picture. I'll find it.
Wow. We were just talking about Skov Olsen too.
Matt and I were, at Oakmont.
Tell him the story, our idea. Tell him the idea.
Yeah, we had an idea while we were walking around at Oakmont that we're going to go to the Nordic countries, to Viking land, in like not quite winter because we still need the courses to be playable, but we're going to go like fall or spring when the weather's really bad. And we're going to do a video tour of Matt and I playing the courses, but we want some Vikings there. And we were thinking Skov Olsen would be like the ideal candidate to play a match with Matt and I. And for this to happen the same week,
a day in a life vlog with the Viking. Like what do they go through every single day to become who they are? So, and he was one of our candidates.
Well, I mean, he seems like a great caddy, evidently. And Matt, I just sent you the picture so that you can see I'm not lying. Or I can even show everyone if they want to see it. There it is.
Wow.
That doesn't really work that well. But anyway, you can see I'm not lying.
The question becomes, should Skov Olsen caddy
become a professional?
Yeah, become a professional caddy for Rasmus Nørgaard Peterson.
They have the same swing coach, I think. But no. He's good. He's going to win. We're going to get him on some accuracy tracks. And once we're in continental Europe, now that he has he's got the winning juice as a caddy, he's going to get it done.
All right, now we've reached the triple digits. For some random names in the triple digits. Lilia Vu, that's a name I recognize. She's 140 to 1.
Lost 8 tee to green in 2 rounds at the U.S. Women's Open.
Tough scene.
Yeah, I think she was dead last.
I always ask about her. You always tell me she's not a serious golfer. Absolutely boo-high, 175 to 1.
I do not say she's not a serious golfer. I said that I wanted to bet her at ShopRite. It's just you can't bet her. These courts, this is what I'm saying, and I feel bad because they say the same things over and over again. It's not going to be the same for Evian. It's not going to be the same thing for the Women's Open. But for these first 3, we've had a bad run where it's just length off the tee. And she's not a long hitter. But she is a very serious golfer. I don't want to hear the disrespect, but
that's fair.
We have a ton of clippable moments in this 30 minutes of
LPGA session over now. I will say, broadly speaking, the recognizable names over 100 have diminished versus the last couple of tournaments. I wonder if the books know that I'm out here hunting.
That you're hunting. You're ready to pluck them off.
Yeah. They're hedging against that, but I do have one who really stands out at 225 to 1. Yuka Sasso. What's that all about? That's disrespectful. That'd be making Brooks 225 to 1, and Brooks almost won last week for 18 holes.
27, actually.
Yeah.
I don't think Yuka Sasso can lead this tournament for 4 holes.
What if she only needs to lead for the last hole? Bob Mack style.
Oh, that's interesting. She would have to make a cut first, which has been a real difficult issue for her.
What's wrong with her? And I don't know enough about her to know why she won the majors in the first place and now why she's terrible. But what is the quick synopsis of what's gone wrong here? And
Dunlap-esque? What do we got going on?
Yeah, makes a ton of doubles and triples, and she played actually pretty good. Yeah, but every round, making 3 or 4 of them every round. Like generally in golf, you want your score to be lower. So when you make a bunch of high numbers, it's difficult to play well. But that's just one man's view.
Unless it's the Barracuda, then you could get away with it here and there.
Well, yeah, maybe that's
Should there be a Stableford major? Though
that would be juicy. They love that in Australia. That's where Minji would win.
They should make the Chevron
because she makes doubles. Yeah, definitely.
But honestly, there are fewer names up here that I recognize versus when we did this when Maya Stark was up here. Now, Maya Stark is still up here, as we mentioned. Gabby Ruffles, 175.
Aussie, right?
Like it. Aussie. I like it. And she was playing pretty good. I think her brother Ryan was caddying for her as well, and he was kind of making fun of her a little bit, saying that she...
Melbourne man.
Yeah. I mean, I think that her game is slowly trending. I don't think it's probably there to win and overtake the top dogs that are in good form. But, I mean, I could see a nice, top 20.
What happened to Lee 6? I used to bet Lee 6.
Oh, she might have changed her name.
No, there's just a Lee 5 too. Or a Lee 5 as well, not a Lee 5 too.
Has Lee 6? I don't see, why is she playing? What's going on with her?
She's really lost her game. I mean, jokes aside, I think that South Korean, the South Korean prodigies, they come out way, way, way more acclimated to play well on, the pro golf scene. They're not as sheltered, I think, as the American college golfers. But I think that the mental strain it takes on them, they flash hard. They come out and they win majors early. Boom, 21, 22. They knock off 4. And then they become mega celebrities in South Korea. And there's a ton of pressure on them. And it cracks a bunch of people. I think Sayri Pak, she has stories of her dad making her sleep in cemeteries for her mental strength. So it's it's...
That is taking strokes gain dog development above and beyond the of an acceptable level.
Adam knows the level of mental strain of young South Korean future stars more than anybody because he watched a whole Netflix documentary on that exact thing.
This is actually...
Oh, really?
I watched... So I went to Coachella, and there's a bunch of K-pop performers, and I knew obviously of K-pop, but I wasn't by any means a follower.
Sego, of course.
Yeah, but this was before I knew about Sego. I should have connected the dots there. But then I did all this research because I was intrigued by just the business of K-pop. It seems insane that these South Korean bands are taking over globally. And then I watched a documentary about the creation of a South Korean girls group, and it was serious feedback, no holds barred feedback on their performance, which sounds like it ties in to the golf approach as well.
Which group is that?
They're called Cat's Eye. Check out the documentary. Honestly,
I've never heard of them, but they probably have 400 million followers on YouTube.
Oh, yeah, every time they post on Instagram, the reels have 300,000 likes every time.
Yeah. No, so I mean, anyway, I kind of went off track going to Lee 6, but she was really good. She was the best player in the world, but I think it's with these young Korean players, you get them when they're peaking, but you don't expect it to be a 10, 15-year career. But that's probably another conversation for another day.
No, that's what the people come for. If they've made it this far in the podcast, this would be probably...
Yeah, we already gave them the winner.
2 hours in.
So
now we're doing a discussion of South Korean
expect Ronnie and Ellie.
Soft power politics of South Korea with their women's golf and K-pop bands. But anything else for us, Mr. Riss? This could have to do with the LPGA, could have to do with the US Open. You were on Bob Mack. You're a Bob Mack guy. How did it feel coming down the stretch? Did you think there was a moment where, or just give me, neither of us were on Bob Mack, so we can't, give our sweat perspective. What was the Bob Mack sweat perspective?
Okay, well, I had a ton of things going through my mind, but I was rooting for Vic for most of the week. Matt and I were on him. Seems like a lot of the Discord was on him. A lot of my friends were on him. So the vibes were high around Vic. It can be tough to get your casual friends into golf betting. So it's fun when you get a guy in the mix. And then that's kind of where the focus was. And then I just saw Bob Mack, not on the screen, but, tracking, putting together results. I saw the eagle stringing together pars. And then I saw him talking to his ball in the air on 17.
That was
sick. It was so sweet. And I saw him hit the lag putt, and I had my phone down because I don't want to look at the live odds. I don't trust NBC because you can kind of guess what happens because everything's on delay. I saw him. I looked at the live odds. I saw that he was the odds-on favorite. He was minus 170, and I said, you know what? That's too early. That's not going to go good for me. Like Spaun's going to do
minus
something.
170. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. Yep. Before JJ hit his putt on 16 when he had that 45-footer.
That makes sense.
And as soon as I saw that number, I said, that's not good. Like, because he's still a Euro at heart and a minus 170 Euro golfer, and they're just not going to. That's not how it's going to go when they have a hole to play. But it was sad. I think that including the ladies' events, I've had runners up in 4 of the 5 majors. I saw people were roasting Matt's swing on my pupil's swing on Twitter. It was a terrible day, but if I'm being honest, it was a terrible day. But this week, I guarantee that we're going to get the runner up, and Matt is, he's going to shoot 75 or lower, and we're going to get the vibes right.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah, I know you.
Which part of a parlay is most likely to not hit? Us hitting second place and Jers, us hitting second place in all events this week, and Jers shooting 75. If we needed all 3 of those things to come together this week, where do we fall short?
Well, the runner-up's going to happen. The runner-up's going to happen. Jers is going to shoot 75 or lower. So, I mean, there's your answer. Process of elimination.
We might need to. We'd have to find a par 58.
No. Come on, don't dog my guy.
I just need you to, with the power of wrist and you reading my putts, Adam. I think I could do it.
I'm a general. Have we ever told Russ about my green?
Is there anything barring you from having 2 caddies?
I don't know.
Probably, right?
Well, no, you're just a swing coach. Like I think I'm dialed there, but Adam on the bag, I am actually the worst putter in the world. But when I'm with Adam, whether it was in Scotland, whether it was in Florida, doesn't matter, even North Carolina, whatever the surfaces are, Adam has me rolling it. It's a fact.
I'm a good putter because I'm a good green reader. Like I don't think my stroke honestly is like that great, but I've always putted well just because I read the greens well. And when Jers putts, it was actually one of the most unbelievable 3 straight holes after he had truly been missing not even close putts the last time we were playing down in Florida. 3 straight holes, sliders right in the middle. And when the 3rd one went in, we were like, I couldn't even speak. It was
jumping.
You know what? You were just playing to your true potential, Matt. So don't get hyped up over this. It's your true potential. You're gonna shoot 73 this weekend. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, I consistently roll it end over end. But I can't. I don't know where. I can't aim. I don't know where.
Maybe Adam needs to give you like a tutorial on, like elementary school reading skills, but for greens.
Yeah.
Dump the water on the green. Where would it flow? That's the elementary. That's the 101 putting tip. Mr. Russ, it's been an absolute pleasure, as it always is.
Thank you for having me, and we're gonna find the runner-up. We are going to find the runner-up.
Yeah, and I know you're hard on yourself. We're all hard on ourselves. We all want to hit winners. We all want to make the Vince family happy. But you've been doing an unbelievable job on the LPGA this year. The beat, new year, trying this out. I've received multiple comments of people saying how much they love the LPGA, Mr. Russ. So keep up the great work. We're going to be following along. It'll be up on the site. We appreciate you. You're the man. Thank you so much for joining us.
No, thank you guys for having me.
Talk to you later.